Hello and welcome everyone to day 2 of the Teaching and Learning Conference. My name is Haley Pessner and I serve as a manager in the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning. I will be the host of this keynote presentation with the Center for Women's Leadership in the Forbes School of Business and Technology. Your microphones will be muted for this presentation, but I encourage you to post questions and comments in the chat. Also, keep your eye on the chat for a link to a helpful session feedback survey. Thank you.
Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. I'm Dr. Irina Weisblatt, an associate professor at the Forbes School of Business and Technology. And today I'm a moderator for this panel discussion that will focus on the Center for Women's Leadership. The panelists will talk about the purpose of the center, its current activities, and plans for the future. I want to thank you all, our participants, for joining us today and for your interest in the Center for Women's Leadership. As we get started, please use the chat box to post your questions to our panelists. And we will allow about 30 minutes for questions and answers in the end of the hour. But first, let me welcome our distinguished panelists. They're our fearless leaders and true architects for the Center for Women's Leadership. Today we have Bob Doherty, Dean of the Forbes School of Business and Technology, and our department chairs, Doctors Katie Thury, Karen Ivey, and Maya Zalich. Now, it is my privilege and distinct honor to introduce Bob Doherty, Dean of the Forbes School of Business and Technology. Bob is a true visionary who made the Center for Women's Leadership possible. He is a graduate of Harvard University, Columbia University, and the University of Cambridge in England. Bob has an extensive background working in executive leadership roles. In addition to leading multiple educational institutions, Bob served as chairman of EduVentures and the CEO of Cognitive Arts, a leading provider of instructional design technology for colleges and universities. The Center for Women's Leadership was created as a result of his vision, support, leadership, and commitment to the promotion of gender equity in business. I welcome Bob, even though he's joining us a little bit later. I am equally honored to introduce Dr. Katie Thury, the department chair for the Department of Organizational Studies at the Forbes School of Business and Technology. She is a co-chair of the Center for Women's Leadership Advisory Committee. And Katie leads, she's the lead on the mentoring subcommittee of our center. Katie is one of those leaders who truly lead by example. Dr. Thury is a recognized expert and leader in the HR field, having earned multiple professional credentials and prestigious designations. She holds a PhD with an emphasis in training and performance improvement from Capella University. Dr. Thury has nearly 20 years of experience in human resource and training. Today, Katie generously shares her expertise and time with our students, being the founder of the Forbes School of Business SHRM chapter. It's a virtual student chapter for the Society of Human Resource Management. Welcome, Dr. Thury. So great to have you with us.
Thank you, Dr. Irina Weisblatt. Thank you for that kind introduction. Good to be here with you today.
Of course. It is my great pleasure also to introduce Dr. Karen Ivey. She is the department chair for the Department of Technology Studies at the Forbes School of Business and Technology. And Karen also is a co-chair of the Center for Women's Leadership Advisory Committee. And she leads the Partnership and Community Outreach Subcommittee. Dr. Ivy holds a PhD in organizational management from Capella University, and her professional experience include over 30 years of business, technical, and leadership contributions in aerospace, manufacturing, healthcare, and information technology industries. Dr. Ivy constantly gives back to the community. She is a true catalyst for change in our society. She has a passion for continuous learning and enjoys leading through change, developing others to reach their potential. She also likes, you ready for this? In addition to teaching, she is passionate about singing, golfing, and traveling the world. Well, of course, BC, before COVID, right? But hopefully we all will continue very soon to travel the world. So Dr. Ivy's goal is to inspire others to achieve their ultimate goals and to explore their passion to the fullest. Welcome, Dr. Ivy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Irina. And yes, I am waiting to start traveling again, I must tell you, and so excited for this event today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm also very happy to introduce Dr. Maya Zalic, the department chair for the Department of Advanced Management. She serves on two subcommittees at the Center for Women's Leadership, on the events and the research subcommittees. Dr. Zalic holds PhD in General Business Management from Capella University, and Maya's academic activities include serving as a doctoral chair, co-facilitating certification and mentorship programs, developing courses, and conducting research. And specifically, in the fields of online learning, biculturalism, marketing, conflict negotiation, business ethics, and management. She also served as a host of think tanks. Everybody in Ashford, of course, remember that. And this think tank, of course, attracted a large body of faculty and staff at our university. For her research efforts, Dr. Zalic was awarded with the University Fellows Grants. Welcome, Dr. Zalic. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, Irina. So happy to be here with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you all. And again, thank you to all of you for joining us today. Your participation is an excellent response to the future that the Center for Women's Leadership has. And it actually is a very good indication that you have a significant role to play and to have an impact on and contributions to our organization. As we know, the leaders are needed today like never before. As individuals, it's up to us to become prepared for the future role that each of us will play in the organization. With that, let me ask our esteemed panelists a few questions. And the first question goes to Katie. I hope you all allow me to switch to the first name basis right now. Just let's drop the titles. Thank you so much. Katie, what are the primary benefits that you envision for the mentees in the mentoring in the mentoring program that you are so actively involved in? Can you give us just a quick answer on that?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for inquiring about the benefits of the mentoring program. And I would start by saying that virtually everyone benefits from seeing people like themselves in leadership position. And 54% of our undergraduate and 60% of our graduate degree program enrollments are women. But our students, many of whom are early career women, might not be able to see herself in executive roles. And if women at the average publicly traded company waited for a female role model to show up or appear before finding a mentor, they might be waiting a long time. with us today, Dean Doherty is the economist among this panel and can tell you all better than I that companies with a higher percentage of women in executive and board positions tend to perform better. So we're business educators, and we aim to meet the demands of business, and we aim to prepare our students to meet the demands of business. It makes sense for us to focus on the development of women in leadership. But I would also add that there's something in it for all of us. To get to the heart of your question, what are the primary benefits for mentees in the mentoring program? I'll limit my response to 3 things for the sake of time. And those are unique pairing, a committed mentor, and a supportive framework. First, finding a mentor isn't easy. If you're not an extrovert, it might feel uncomfortable to be the one to make that ask. And the CWL mentoring program takes the search and the pairing burden from both mentee and mentor. It's really important that women see other women in executive roles so that they can envision themselves there. But I would also add that one of the benefits of this formal mentoring program is that it can pair people who would not normally come together. So the unique pairing is the first benefit I'll highlight. Second, mentees are matched with an individual who's also taken the time to submit an application. They complete an orientation and commit to at least 1 hour per week to connect. So mentees can count on a mentor to connect about challenges that are specific to them with someone who is a neutral voice. They don't work at the same company, for example. Not only can mentees feel confident in a safe and supportive space to explore topics, ask questions, and share challenges, but with someone who's also committed by submitting that application to solidify that commitment. The program itself provides a framework for both parties. So here's a supportive foundation to explore key topics that impact women leaders. So this is the third benefit to mentees of the mentoring program, in that they have a meaningful yet flexible structure to engage with their mentor. So I'll summarize those 3 benefits, those 3 things, by saying the benefits of the CWL mentoring program is that it was designed to remove 3 barriers from mentorship: finding a mentor, establishing a relationship and a meaningful one, and cultivating dialogue and action that come from that relationship.
Well, thank you, Katie. These are really excellent opportunities for all of the mentees in the program. And thank you for this great start of introducing the program to all of us. And I'm sure that time permitting, you will be able to tell us some more. And now I'm so pleased that our Dean, Bob Doherty, joined us today. Welcome, Bob. And let me jump right away by posing this question to you. Given your extensive background in executive leadership roles, what are some of the most significant challenges or obstacles that you've personally witnessed to gender equity in leadership, and how our Center for Women's Leadership might help leaders in overcoming these obstacles?
Well, first off, Irina, thank you for the warm welcome, and thank you for leading us in this panel this morning. You're doing a great job. It's interesting when you talk about challenges, especially around gender equality, because you always have to put it in the context of time and in the context of history. And at this moment in time, and Katie touched on it a little bit, is the biggest challenge I see is the lack of role models for women. If a woman were to become the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, she has 29 other women to look to as a role model. If a man becomes the CEO of a Fortune 500 company today, he has 471 role models and we all appreciate as educators the importance of having a role model, not only just so you can visualize yourself in the role, but to actually have somebody to ask questions to, and to say, what is it like? What do I need to do to be prepared and to be successful in that? So I think that's right now the biggest challenge. And Melinda Gates talks very eloquently about problems are oftentimes, it's the only thing we see or talk about, but the progress, which there's been tremendous progress just in my lifetime, in 1972 with Title IX and as an amendment to the 1965 Higher Education Act and so forth. We still have so far to go, but in 100 years ago, women couldn't even vote. So my hope is 100 years from now, frankly, that there's 300 women as CEO. I hope, God, it's not 100 years. Hope it's 10 years, that there's 300 women as CEOs and 200 men, or whatever that mix will be. It should be purely based on the demographics in the population. So.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, Bob. It's considering it's a short answer, but it's a very, very full of sense and really outlines the important issues that we as a society often struggle with and have to pay attention to. And you really brought some excellent, excellent points. Thank you for that. We certainly have some lessons to learn. And now I would like to move to Karen. As I mentioned already, Karen is very actively engaged with the partnerships and community outreach at the Center for Women's Leadership. Karen, could you please explain a little to us this? If a business is interested in partnering with our Center for Women's Leadership, but doesn't have the means for financial sponsorship, what are some of the ways in which they can serve as non-financial sponsors?
That's a very, very good question, Dr. Irina, because sponsorship really is a give and take relationship, and there are several types of sponsors. So what we're talking about, if a sponsor is not a financial sponsor, they can be in what's called an in-kind sponsor. That's IN-KIND. And that's actually a fantastic way for businesses to partner with and support the CWL outside of providing financial sponsorship. So for definition, an in-kind sponsorship is an arrangement where the sponsoring business provides goods or services in lieu of direct financial support. So what are some examples where someone can be an in-kind sponsor? I'm going to give some examples here. First, volunteering to share your expertise and time with mentoring, coaching for the CWL mentors. That is an in-kind example. Here's another one. Participate in giveaways, supporting CWL events and functions. And sponsors can do this with all types of products or services that they support through their business, provided as giveaways to CWL members during events and functions. Here's another example. Media sponsor support opportunities. So media sponsors agree to advertise the event. This includes television, radio, print, social media channels. And we know that social media is so important as we're receiving information and getting the information out. So if there is anyone out there who wants to be a media in-kind sponsor, get in contact with us, let us know. A couple more examples. Internships opportunities or job placement opportunities. This is a good one. Individuals with their businesses can offer internships, can offer job opportunities to CWL members. How about career preparation feedback and insights, such as reviewing resumes, reviewing elevator speeches, providing that feedback for CWL members? With technology, individuals can record their elevator speech, and in-kind sponsors can review those and provide feedback back to individuals. And a couple of more, how about providing leadership workshops or materials which help to develop CWL members? In-kind sponsors can do that. And then finally, extending to CWL members, company-hosted conference admittance for them to conferences or summits. So if I'm a company and I'm hosting a conference or a summit, I can extend free membership and free attendance to CWL members. So all of those are just a few examples of how individuals can contribute to the CWL without contributing financially. And I wanted to mention that we in CWL are very eager for sponsors and corporate donors to help us as we spread our mission and our programs throughout the world globally. So by working together, we can strategically accomplish exponentially more than we can as individuals. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor, any type of sponsor, please go to our CWL website where we have information as far as how you can enroll. But there are so many ways to be in-kind sponsors.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Karen. You bring up some extraordinary points about future collaboration with the Center for Women's Leadership. And while we have you, while you have the floor, will you be kind enough to tell us a little more about the Center for Women's Leadership and its activities currently and the plans for the future, perhaps?
Fantastic.
Thank
So
you.
everyone, envision a world where women have equal representation in leadership positions and lead confidently in their chosen fields. Bob mentioned 300,000 plus CEOs to 200,000 plus men or even more, right? Where women know their strengths, know their weaknesses, and even know where to go to receive coaching, instruction, encouragement, modeling, and inspiration. We share this vision with Forbes School of Business and Technology. And that's why we launched the Center for Women's Leadership on June 23rd of this year. So what is the Center for Women's Leadership? By definition, the Center of Women's Leadership is a network of scholars, practitioners, and students who seek to advance the standing of women in leadership and enhance their knowledge, expertise, and research in the area of women's leadership. So through networking, mentoring, research discoveries, and professional development, speaker series, and functions, the Center for Women's Leadership educates and inspires women leaders. So why do we have a Center for Women's Leadership? You may ask that question. Well, we all know that leadership is a lifestyle. Leadership is a choice. So let's talk about why the Center for Leadership is needed and the benefits provided. So on the screen, we are seeing the spiral of CWL benefits provided to nurture, develop, and advance the positions of women in leadership. What I'm going to talk about today very quickly is focusing on 8 qualities of strong leadership that's aligned with the benefits of the CWL. First quality, having an optimistic mind, looking on the positive side of things. How about also having strong persistence and work ethic, and also developing a strong sense of self-confidence? Well, all of those leadership qualities you can develop through the Center for Women's Leadership Mentoring Program. Katie shared some insights on our mentoring program. You want to check it out. You want to enroll and join and even become a mentor if you would like. Here are some additional qualities. Have a strong and powerful voice. It's not the sound of your voice, it's what you stand for. How about the willingness to speak your truth, even if the message may not align with the status quo? Living with passion and purpose, and also learning how to be the authentic you, are all qualities enforced in our networking and speaker series webinar events. And I think Maya will shed some insights on our speaker events a little later on. How about the quality of embracing change and being willing to work in the face of change? That's the embodiment of leadership, right? Learning techniques of change management and leading change initiatives can be gained in our Center for Women's Leadership professional development activities. And then finally, the strong leadership quality of seeking and receiving support is so important because no one can do this alone. This is why the Center for Women's Leadership is so important. Benefit from advanced research and discoveries provided by the CWL. Brandy will step more into our research directions a little later on, but basically receive support and expanding your next. So I want to say that joining the Center for Women's Leadership and increasing your capacity in all of these strong leadership areas can help you to improve your impact on the world and maximize your capacity for leadership. The CWL exists to help women realize their full leadership potential, and we are so glad to be part of it. So we would love for you to join us and take advantage of all of these wonderful benefits. And I must say personally, I really enjoy collaborating with members of the CWL and featured guests as we support each other in our leadership direction. So we are a fun organization, inspiring and inclusive organization where all are welcomed as we support gender equity in leadership. And so that's the 1, 2, 3 on the Center for Women's Leadership. Thanks, Irina.
Thank you so much, Karen. That was a spectacular presentation of this extraordinary organization. And dear participants, please pay attention in the chat box. There are some links posted to our website and information on how to join this organization. And now, please let me direct a question to Maya. We know that Maya is also engaged very actively on 2 subcommittees at the Center for Women's Leadership. And I would like you, Maya, to say a few words about this subcommittee. And most importantly, if you could answer this question based on feedback from the 3, I believe, prior Center for Women's Leadership in events in this year, in the year 2020 alone. What do you feel are the most important things that the participants, the attendees, are taking away from these events?
Thank you, Irina. Excellent question. I would first like to acknowledge the subcommittee members of the events committee that worked tirelessly on the 3 events. That is you, Irina, Dr. Jenny Walker, Brandy Havens, and also would like to acknowledge Dr. Jenny Walker for leading the efforts in a very, very, very comprehensive research that Brandy is going to touch upon a little bit further. As we started working and brainstorming within our subcommittee on how to formulate these events, we started putting them in 3 distinct groups. One would be the keynote speaker. The other one is the panel format. And then the third one would be the workshops and professional development opportunities that Dr. Ivy touched upon that we will be working on next year. So as we reflected on some of those events, the mental health panel, for example, came as a result that our participants had when Margie Varel, our keynote speaker, presented during the first event. And she talked about motivation. She talked about how to push through this very difficult year. And as we were looking at the Facebook Live feedback, and as we were looking at the survey feedback, and also as we were looking at some of the chatter in the chat pod, we realized that our participants, our students in particular, are in need of some guidance how to survive in 2020, for the lack of better words, juggling busy professional life, juggling being students, being parents, a lot of times single parents, and also staying sane. So that triggered our mental health panel that actually was created impromptu, and we had an excellent expert. Each one of them gave us a very specific toolkit that our students, alumni, general participants, members can use. Then the third event was again a keynote on curiosity by Dr. Diane Hamilton. And we got so many questions. We were teasing her that we approximately addressed 80% of the questions in the chat pod. And then she was kind enough to address some of our members' questions after the session. What we're trying to do as we're designing these events, we're trying to address the needs of our members, the needs of our membership, what our audience is in need of hearing. And we also would like to showcase different disciplines, different industries that our participants, women leaders, are stellar in. And this is how the technology panel idea came about. And because you actually are showcasing now our upcoming panel in January, we created this panel to talk about a very difficult field when it comes to women penetrating the upper echelon of the leadership role, and that is the field of technology. So our technology panel is going to have Tamar Alkels. She's a Chief Human Resource Officer and Head of HR at XCOM. Dr. Chitra Anand, former CEO, actually former communication officer for the entire Microsoft Canada, technology executive of several different technology companies, advisor and author. Our very own Dr. Karen Ivey, the department chair of Forbes School of Business and Technology, and also a technology leader in her own right in her prior career path. And Lizzie Bronte, which is she's actually an IT project manager with Nationwide Insurance. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to showcase women at different layers of the technology, as far as different layers within their companies, all within the technology field. And we want to touch upon some topics pertaining to where they're seeing what is their vision for women leadership in technology, and also how the technology is addressing some of the challenges we had in 2020. So some of the questions, and because we have a rich audience today in Zoom, I would like to invite everyone, men and women, to attend our sessions. As we touch upon some topics that may be interesting to our female attendees, please keep in mind, we're always going to have enough questions and enough topics that are universal for the world of business, and everyone can benefit from it. And if I may just 1 second mention the upcoming panel that we're hoping to have as an all-star panel of international women leaders. We would like to celebrate March 8th, the International Women's Day, having a panel of international women's leaders from different corners of the world. That is in works. We're keeping it a secret because we're trying to have the most established women leaders in different areas from the different corners of the world. Thank you, Irina.
Thank you, Maya, very, very much. Sounds really very exciting. And we are just so pleased to hear all these little secrets already and look forward. I'm sure that everyone is looking forward to your next event in January now. Cannot wait. I myself cannot wait. Thank you so much. And now I would like very much to give the floor to Brandy Havens, whom I already briefly introduced. And, you know, especially when we think about the question of what we yet have to learn about women's contributions to organizations, we all recognize the importance of research. And Brandy, together with Maya and other members of our Center for Women's Leadership, is involved with the research group. Brandy, would you like to update us about your activities and what your team has to show so far?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Weisblatt. On behalf of the Research Subcommittee of the CWL, I'm delighted to share a brief update on our survey conducted earlier this year. The underlying objective of the survey was to gain a greater understanding of what motivates women leaders, the most common obstacles they face, both personally and professionally, and career success strategies, with the hope that this heightened understanding will place the CWL in a better position to serve members and offer relevant resources and customized learning opportunities. As a member of the research subcommittee, I can say confidently that we entered this endeavor with great expectations. However, the results far exceeded what we had imagined, and we're truly grateful for everyone who took the time to participate and share their insight for this study. In June of this year, Dr. Jenny Walker created and distributed a simple 20-question survey with an option to provide additional comments. Over a 3-month period, from June to August, 1,300 people responded. From this, we were able to glean more than 1,000 completely clean surveys from our target group. Perhaps the most notable result of the survey was more than 80 pages of optional comments, along with more than 100 participants who specifically volunteered for future study and interviews. This overwhelming response far exceeded our expectations, and it underscores the importance of this research and forward progress in women's leadership. While we're still in the preliminary stages of analyzing this wealth of data and information, there are some key themes that we've identified. The majority of our audience represents women between the ages of 30 and 50 who are actively working to grow professionally and advance their careers. Respondents commonly noted that their work efforts led to additional stress and responsibilities without a formal promotion or additional compensation. Results imply not only a need for ongoing professional development, but also an awareness and sensitivity to organizational barriers. Therefore, these are things that we will bear in mind as we move forward with the research. By better understanding our audience, including their needs and the challenges they face, we can be strategically positioned to offer our members the resources that they need to grow their leadership potential, and the CWL can be a true change agent to promote gender equity in leadership roles. Thank you so much, and I'll turn it back to Dr. Weisblatt.
Thank you, Brandy, so much for sharing this information and being involved a little bit already with your group. I can tell you that is an enormous task. So we all thank you very much for your contributions. And I must say that another very important initiative at the Center for Women's Leadership is the mentoring program. Katie already touched a little bit on the benefits to mentees. But right now, with your permission, Katie, we would like first to show the video that your team created for our attendees today to enjoy and understand more about your program. And then we will let you add more information about the program. Thank you. It will just take just a second for technology kick in. As I like to always say to my students, technology is only great when it works. Haley, you want to try maybe another link? Oh, now here we go. Thank you.
We have to be sure to share the volume, the system volume.
Haley, we do not have the sound for some reason.
It's supported by committee members from within the Forbes School of Business and Technology and across the university. These individuals.
I apologize, everyone. Let's give this another go.
All right.
There is a lot more to education than what is found in a book, which is why the Forbes School of Business and Technology Center for Women's Leadership offers programs designed to supplement and enhance the learning experience beyond the classroom. The Center for Women's Leadership Mentoring Program pairs future women leaders with high-achieving, successful leaders to collaborate in a customizable 10-week, 8-module plan. I'm Dr. Katie Theory, Department Chair for the Forbes School of Business and Technology. The Center for Women's Leadership is supported by committee members from within the Forbes School of Business and Technology and across the university. These individuals utilize their unique talents to carry out the vision of the center, which was created to facilitate interaction and organize activities that support the conversation about women and leadership. The mentoring program is designed to support a mutually beneficial relationship between mentee and mentor. Participants will have an opportunity to develop knowledge and commitment to gender diversity, equity, inclusion, and empowerment. Increase awareness of opportunities to develop as a leader in the organizations and communities they serve. And access resources to expand their professional networks for career advancement. Current students and university alum, if you're interested in connecting with high-achieving, successful leaders, sign up to be paired with a mentor. If you are ready to inspire a future leader, join the mentoring movement with us. Explore the Center for Women's Leadership Mentoring Program and register as a mentor. We have an open seat to our virtual orientation event just for you.
Well, this is just wonderful. As we all know, mentors are the best of teachers. They are people who can inspire others, people who remember the impact that good teachers once had on them. And they are people who believe that sharing knowledge is a responsibility, not a burden. Would you agree, Katie? Do you want to add a little more about mentoring program for us, please?
Oh, I so appreciate the airtime that we're giving the Center for Women's Leadership Mentoring Program. Thank you so much for the question and giving me the floor once again. Fortunately, it looks based on the questions in the chat pod that there is as much enthusiasm and interest in the mentoring program as we have here. And as Dr. Karen Ivey highlighted in today's overview, the center offers several benefits, and Dr. Maya Zelahik delved into a bit about how we aim to uncover and meet those requests directly. Well, in partnership with the university's peer mentoring initiatives, the CWL mentoring program started taking mentor and mentee applications on October 2nd. The program's structure itself, as you heard in the video, is a 10-week program consisting of 8 modules, which include activities, resources, and ideas for application, all designed to break the ice for the mentee-mentor relationship and empower future women leaders. The program has a very meaningful, as I said earlier, yet flexible framework. And I use the word flexible because only 2 modules are required. The module 1, the welcome, module 8, the wrap up. And together, the mentees and mentors define their goals for the program and can elect to navigate through a personalized combination of the remaining 6 modules. The mentee application is open to university students and alum from all degree programs. And unlike the university peer-to-peer mentoring program, mentors are faculty, staff, committed university advisory board members, degree program advisory committee members, and so forth, individuals with demonstrated leadership experience. And I see your question there. Thank you to the individual that posed, how long does the unique pairing take for a mentee to get a mentor? In the application process, that can take a few weeks. The algorithm takes applicant information and analyzes it against the mentor profiles, ensuring that the pairings themselves accurately accommodate mentor expertise and mentee needs. So it depends, is how I'll answer that question. Depends on the request of the mentee and the availability of mentors. So this is also my call for mentors as well. We have a wonderful response from mentees and interest in this program. And for the mentors, no previous experience necessary except leadership experience, because we send all mentors and mentees through a short orientation. We ask for a commitment of 1 hour per week for those consecutive 10 weeks, and the mentee and mentors choose the dates and times to connect. But I couldn't conclude this quick overview of the mentoring program without acknowledging the other subcommittee members, many of whom I see on the line right now. I see Dr. Teresa Keurig, Director of Faculty Support and Development, not to mention chair of this very conference, the 2020 Teaching and Learning Conference, among others whose faces you saw on the screen in that video. But I also want to recognize those that volunteer their time as mentors. Thank you to our first cohort of mentors, and thank you to the first cohort of mentees, who it may seem that you have the most to benefit, but that's not true, because when you do better, we all win. And earlier, Irina, you specifically asked me about how mentees benefit, but the relationship truly is transforming for both parties. And I love the saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. So thanks again for the airtime for the mentoring program.
Thank you again so much, Katie. I'm sure that we all can share this enthusiasm, and thank you for encouraging our participants to join the mentorship program offered by the Center for Women's Leadership and have a life-changing experience. Now, while we are waiting, I see that we have a few questions already from our audience. While I'm collecting these questions, let me start the open forum with this question to each of you, and you please ask as you wish. As you know, when some powerful women in our country were asked about the female icons they most admire in business, among the mentioned names were Mindy Kaling, she's a writer, actor, and producer. Brene Brown, she's teaching about leadership. Ruth Porat at Google, and of course, Sheryl Sandberg at Facebook. So my question to you, dear panelists, who is your female icon that you admire most? Why? And what qualities and characteristics of that iconic woman would you like to see present in our female students and faculty members at Ashford? Who would like to start?
I'll be happy to go first if I can jump line. My female hero is a woman by the name of Diana Green. And Diana Green founded a company called VMware, which is one of the most successful tech companies in the last 10 years. And she also set up and ran Google Cloud. And within Silicon Valley, she is as big of a rock star as you get, but she's really only known within the Valley. And the reason I like her so much and her success, I think, is just a product of her leadership skills. And she'll tell you that a real leader cares more about you than themselves, and that they're honest, and that they're great communicators. And you can be a great communicator really one of three ways. One, you can be a great orator. So, Martin Luther King was a great leader. John F. Kennedy was a great leader because they were great speakers. You can be a great communicator as a writer, and certainly Abraham Lincoln is an example of that. But then you can also be a great communicator by showing other people what you want done by being a role model. And that's why I think one of the core missions of the Center for Women's Leadership is hopefully we're going to be manufacturing role models. and it will be, I cannot wait to see the continued progress of CWL. But Diana Green, if you don't know about her, I would certainly encourage you to learn more. She's a remarkable, remarkable leader.
Thank you so much, Bob. Certainly, I'm just so grateful you mentioned that leadership quality of leading by example, and I'm so pleased to reiterate this idea one more time, that in fact, all of our esteemed panelists present today are those who lead by example. Thank you so much. Can someone else share their examples of iconic women?
I'd like to share mine. This is Dr. Ivy, and I wanted to tag on to Bob, where he talked about modeling. So my esteemed person may not be a name that is known across the world. Her name is Peggy Jean Daniels, who was my mom. And my mom is deceased, but let me tell you why. She is number one on my list. My mom had her GED. She did not go to college, advanced studies. However, she rose to be a leader across communities in leadership of a women's organization that she supported. She provided information to leaders in organizations who used her speeches to deliver their speeches. I watched my mom as she instilled in us as young women, I have two other sisters, to always try something new. And she said, I don't want to hear you say you don't like stepping into something new if you haven't tried it. And this was true, guys, for everything from food, new food she would introduce to us, going to new events and all of that. She instilled in me the value of innovation, the value of stepping outside of the box, not being afraid to do that and taking on the leadership position to even lead others in so doing it. And so I'm very proud to say that for my number one on my list, I have others as well who are the named big names that we all may identify and say, but my mother is number one on my list because she instilled in me how to be a true leader. And these are values that we definitely try to express to our members of CWL, especially women leaders. A lot of times when we rise to the top, we dwindle in numbers, but that is no reason of not to take that position. That is no reason of not taking that position with boldness and with confidence as well. And those are the values I received from Ms. Peggy Jean Daniels.
Oh, thank you so much, Karen. What a wonderful, wonderful story and a great tribute to your mother. Indeed, what an outstanding example of a woman who, without looking for any special recognition, just does good to people around her and, of course, to her children. Thank you so much for sharing that story. Katie, do you have an example of your personal hero?
Absolutely. I studied organizational leadership at a historically all-women's college, St. Catherine University in St. Paul, Minnesota. And I also happened to work there. And so a woman that you all may not know, depending on your encounters with St. Catherine University, I worked with Patricia Vidston from 1998 to 2003. And she was unapologetic, she was fierce, and she got stuff done. I didn't know what a role model she would be to me at the time, because quite honestly, I was terrified of her and her approach. But I know now and reflect on our encounters what an influence she had on me. When I need to say what needs to be said, I think of Patricia Vidston.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for such a great example. And I'm just very happy to hear, most of our attendees, I'm sure, that you give us real life examples of people who touched your own lives. And Maya, do you have something to add to this question real quick?
Yeah, when I attended the Forbes Women's Summit in New York, I actually had an opportunity to watch Indira Nooyi, and I am probably butchering her last name, a former CEO of Pepsi, an Indian American woman, an immigrant. And I was able to relate to her immigrant story and her starting in the US. And one of the things that she shared was that she only had 2 outfits. And she was basically, constantly alternating those 2 outfits, one on Monday, then the other one on Tuesday, in order for folks not to accuse her of wearing the same outfit every single day. She became a head of Pepsi, and she also said that no matter where she went, she was usually the only woman in any of those conference rooms. And then she said to herself, she was actually even teasing. She said, "I realized early on I cannot compete with my beauty." And that was, of course, a joke. But she said, you know what I can compete with? I can be the best. So whatever they can produce, I will be, one notch above them, and I will compete with my superb quality. She was selling herself short because in addition to being a professional woman, in addition to being a very competent woman, she's also a very beautiful lady and a beautiful soul. So as I talked to her, as she was exiting the panel, I literally ran and I had an opportunity to speak with her for just a few moments. And she really inspired me as an immigrant woman myself. That is the role model. Not all of us will become the head of Pepsi's, but we can dream. We can dream, and we can look at her shiny example and strive to do better every single day.
Thank you, Maya, so much. And that's really a very great example to illustrate the idea that maybe, in fact, you do not need to be the CEO of Pepsi to promote and doing something good for your organization and helping your organization become in the center of attention and becoming the very best place to work and so on. Thank you. Excellent, excellent example. And I see that in the chat box, there was a lot of praise and thanks to the panel and many, many questions more to our panelists and a lot of thanks for this useful and inspiring information. One of the questions I see asked is this, and probably probably the one that even our students at in our leadership programs can answer, but would be certainly interesting to hear from you, experienced leaders, the answer to this question that Tony asks, are leaders born or nurtured? What do you think? Who would like to take this question first, please?
I would like to take that question, if I may. I think it's a combination of both. I do feel that that some individuals have those that natural predisposition or some sort of a traits that make them better positioned to be good leaders. However, if they're not willing to open themselves to the learning process and embrace the pillars of effective leadership, no matter the skills, no matter the talents, they're not going to be successful. At the same point of time, I'm a firm believer that a person can go through 115 leadership trainings, get all the knowledge and all the experience in the universe, but they do have to have that little bit of that natural spark connecting with people, that compassion, that empathy, understanding employees and understanding how to get them motivated, how to get them to trust the company's vision and mission, and how to follow ultimately. So I do feel it's a mixture of both.
Thank you, Maya, very much. I agree with you. I feel the same way, absolutely. And I also want to tell you that in addition to the questions we're receiving in the chat, and some of them we will have to address individually maybe in the email responses, some of the questions arrived actually from our attendees through the registration form when they were registering for this event. And I want to address one of them. The question is this: what factors have technology departments employed to foster diversity, inclusion, and equity for women in the workplace? Who would like to address that? I will just guess that Karen would be probably the most interested person to address that question. Go ahead, Karen.
I would like to start it off just in recognizing we're living in very challenging times, as what we all know, especially dealing with COVID. But if you look very closely at how we are integrating technology during this period, it is not new technology that we're bringing to the table. What has happened in a very fantastic way is the individuals' minds have opened up in using technology in innovative ways. And so when we're using technologies, be it in the community, be it in the work environment, such as Zoom, behind this presentation here, what it does is it allows the presence of individuals. And just think about it. If you're in a board meeting and there are 50 people in the board meeting, and you're that type of person who maybe you are encouraged to raise your hand and interject and answer as a true leader, that's why you're there. Let's face it, sometimes in meetings and as women, as people of color, sometimes our voice is not heard. What technology has done is leveled the playing field. We all can open the mic. We all can open our camera. And if you don't, you see me raising my hand, and if you don't say anything, I can type into chat. I can make sure that my voice is known. So technology has assisted in a lot of ways of leveling that playing field, so to say, of diversity and being sure that everyone's voice is important and everyone has an opportunity to extend and share their voice. So that's just one example I wanted to yield.
Thank you so much. What an excellent, excellent answer. And unfortunately, we are really short on time now, but perhaps it's a good thing because we gave a little bit of a taste for our Center for Women's Leadership. And I do hope that our attendees will now connect with us directly via email and through the website. There are more questions, and I will address them to our panelists in the email and ask them to answer to you. If you provide your email address, those who really want to hear the answers, that will be great. If not, then stay in touch with us in other events. However, just I want to ask one very last question in thanking our dear panelists, of course, and in wrapping up this discussion with the who would like to wrap it up with the final words of wisdom to all of us? Bob, perhaps?
I always feel sheepish. I appreciate I have the title of dean and I lead the business school, but the Center for Women's Leadership, yes, I planted the first seed in the field, but it has blossomed into a remarkable effort. So I actually would defer to one of the department chairs to give the final word on this. This has been remarkable, and I cannot wait sincerely to see what the next year brings, 3 years and 5 years from now. I think this within the whole Forbes community globally, that the Center for Women's Leadership is going to be a very big part of Forbes, and it'll be great to see. But Karen, maybe you want to
I'll start us off.
Hang us out.
Yes, I will start us off, and it may be short and sweet where someone else can chime in too. But I wanted to leave with everyone the essence of the Center for Women's Leadership. And it's from a quote, Maya Angelou. If you are never willing to step out and do something different, you will never realize just how fantastic you are. And in the Center for Women's Leadership, we are modeling and building fantastic yous. So please come and join us to help us all to get to the next level.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Our dear leaders, dear panelists and attendees, I cannot thank you enough for your inspirational ideas and words of wisdom, and I cannot wait to connect with you again. And hopefully even before the January event. Thank you again very much, and goodbye.